This segment of the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast is supported in part by Douglas Outdoors, serious rods for serious anglers. Go to douglasoutdoors.com and check out their new lineup of Era rods that retail under $100. Norsk Lithium, the lithium battery that you need is just a click away. Go to norsklithium.com and check out some of the lightest lithium batteries in the market with the best warranty in the business. Mariner Sales, located in the heart of the DFW Metroplex, Mariner Sales has the largest inventory of kayak and kayak accessories in North Texas. You can also shop online at marinersales.com. Well, I forgot to let myself in. Welcome everybody to Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. Ooh, looks like we have a big crowd today. Man, my guest is bringing in some more people to the podcast. I should get this kid here more often. So, anyways, welcome once again to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. As always, is your boy Armando. We're gonna have a great episode like always. Today with me is gonna be Charlie Sanders, a young kid. I think he's like 15 years old. By far the youngest guest I've ever had on the podcast, and we're talking about the youth movement. Charlie has found, even at 13 years old, has found success at local kayak tournaments and recently national throwing of native big bass power hour. He got in at fourth place. That's kind of impressive for a kid that was 15 years old. And we're gonna be talking about his mindset, how he goes from fishing against some of the top anglers in the nation that are like maybe 3, sometimes 4 times older than him. What he thinks about technology, does being young and with respect, being maybe naive in a certain way, help him, and what has attracted the younger generation to a sport that traditionally is considered like an old man sport. But so that's basically what we're going to be talking about. First of all, huge shout out to everybody who's watching: Alex Perez, Eli Self, Steve Billington Fishing, and that Moody Outdoors. Who else we got? Fishing with Platts. So, anyways, if you have a questions for my guest, feel free to put it in the comment section. And before we start, ICAST, man, first time I have not going to be in ICAST for a few years now. I've been going for the last 4 years, mostly to enjoy it. I don't really do a lot of content about it. Kind of feel bad. But none of the sponsors that I work with were going to be in ICAST today. And they're usually the ones who kind of like pay for at least the entries into ICAST, the fees, and some other stuff. So I was kind of bummed that I wasn't going, but then again, I need to work a lot this week, and thankfully I didn't go because I've had a lot of work today. You guys don't know how much I need this beer right now. Wait, it kind of makes me weird because my guest is so young. I don't know if I should be drinking a beer on a live show. But anyways, let's bring in our guest for today, Charlie Sanders. Buddy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Thank you for coming up to the podcast.
Oh yeah, pretend root beer.
Yeah, if you have like soda pop, what's your favorite root beer soda pop now that we got you on that subject?
I like a Vita root beer. Yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Charlie, tell us about yourself, man. How old are you?
I'm 15 years old. Yeah.
15. Tell us about how you got into kayak fishing and what you've kind of been able to accomplish in kayak fishing tournaments.
Well, I've really had a kayak for most of my life, but I really started getting into taking fishing more seriously probably about 2 years ago, 2.5. And yeah.
And go ahead.
Like I got like really into it through watching like mostly YouTube, like, and having a couple people who I knew well who did it.
And what got you into tournament fishing? And what have you been? You've done pretty well for yourself in kayak tournaments. So, what got you into actually competing tournament fishing?
A 4-H, got me into into tournaments. They started a kayak fishing program, like Thad Moody. He's in the comments. Started that, and I really got into it because I was because I fished that tournament in a kayak. I had just gotten my first bait caster, and I I really caught a lot of fish, but I got a bunch into the boat and flopped them off a thin metal board. And so that really got me fired up and realized I could win prizes and could really learn a lot through this. Yeah. So
Nice.
that's how I got into tournaments, and then I just never stopped going at them. Yeah.
And as far as national trails go, I was reading kind of your bio. You came in fourth in the native Big Bass Power Hour. What was the key for you to actually play so well on that type of tournament?
Uh, for me, the key it was Gunnersville. I've been to it a couple times. I've probably spent a good amount. It's the biggest lake that I've spent the most amount of time on, and I really went in and finding a pattern and an area, but then it changed the day of the tournament. And I just made the right adjustment.
What adjustments were those? Like,
Well, the day before, it was completely overcast, and the fish were just all running, chasing bait all through the grass. Like you could see them, just going everywhere. And I ended up deciding to go, to go, and every time I caught a fish, I would just swap techniques or swap which area I was in. And that really helped me get a more diverse pattern and find out what they were really biting on. And I think that's what helped me a lot.
nice. What do you credit, as far as, when you think about kayak fishing is, or even bass fishing is so complicated, so intricate, and such a lot of factors that for most people it takes time. I know for me, it takes time to kind of like acquire that instinct to go to bass fishing. With you being so young, what do you credit um that has been help you learn and create that instinct to know when to switch baits and when to change techniques and adjust?
Yeah. I think a lot of it has just been kind of time. I try and get on the water a lot and really listening to pro anglers, YouTubers, all kind like as much like podcasts, like as many episodes as I can listen to, I have, and that just really helps me a lot because I just absorbing a lot of information because it's everyone puts it out there, and so that really helps learning to make the right changes.
What are some of the things that you learn? Well, first of all, let me ask you this: what are some of your favorite maybe content creators that you watch through YouTube that has helped you grow and boost your knowledge?
Uh, the first one I really got into were the aggressively average anglers. They really they were the gateway to kayak fishing for me.
Oh,
They really showed me the rigged out pro anglers, all that, and that really got me into that. Plus, really, there's been so many there between kayak review channels and just Christine Fisher with casting techniques. Just there's just so many different channels. The big the kayak community as a whole is yeah.
and for you personally, you mentioned what did you mention? Andrew Blair, was it? I know you mentioned, or was it? You mentioned somebody that helped you get into it, other than the gentleman that you mentioned. Who else? Do you have any like connections, personal connections, some of the tournament anglers that have mentored you through this?
Well, Thad Moody, he really meant for like he's mentoring me through and helping. Like he'll take me to tournaments. A good if he's fishing, he always lets me tag along. And there's been a whole lot of just like fishing with Gramps. I like him a lot. He talks and have some great conversations with him at the boat ramp. And yeah, it's been, yeah.
One of the things that I liked about what you said is you're young, but you recognize the what do you say the value in the more experienced angler, like you mentioned, obviously fishing with Gramps, which I know he's gone through some health issues. I hope he gets better soon. Prayers sent to Fishing with Gramps, great content creator and podcaster. So we hope he gets well soon. But you mentioned him. You mentioned aggressively average anglers, which also, a lot. They're
Yeah.
not old, but they're a lot older than you.
Yeah.
So what I take on it is like you really look up to, the elders in the group, and I say elders,
Yeah.
as relative to your young age. Is there anybody like in the young crowd that also has kind of like shaped you in the way you fish?
They're honest. There isn't too many young people in kayak fishing. So I like Trey McKinney. He's not kayak fishing, but I really like his mindset and how he has gone into the elites. Yeah.
And as far as fishing goes, do you feel is there any angler out there that you feel like you want to model yourself as that type of angler? Is there anybody that you look up to as a tournament angler, not necessarily content creator, but tournament angler? Do you think I want to model my game to that angler?
I really just want to be like myself, but like Drew Gregory, Russ Snyder's, all those really big, like the kayak tournament anglers that you like look up to. Christine with how good she is at just casting, and to really just bits and pieces from all of them.
Interesting. I like that answer. What do you feel is the biggest challenge when you go into a tournament?
Well, the biggest challenge, well, probably just that some of the people have been fishing for a lot longer. So probably like the seasonal, like the rare things that happen that I just haven't had the time on the water to see. And I've only really learned through YouTube. Like that'd probably be the biggest challenge.
Do you feel like in some level, being and I obviously like we were talking about it in the pre-recording, I say this with respect, being you as a young age, not to take anything away from what you've accomplished or your knowledge that you've acquired, but there is a sense of inexperience, and maybe I don't know if you can describe it as naive, as in the sense that you're not pressured, you don't let the pressure get to you because you don't feel it as maybe as important that some people that are you know paying a mortgage, paying their kids to school, and then having to invest into a tournament and kind of wanting to do well, or tournament anglers that actually make a living out of tournaments. Do you feel like some of that feel gives you an advantage to fish more freely?
Uh, yeah, I fish pretty free, but I also put a lot of pressure on like I really want to do well. Like it's because I can't drive. So there's a lot that goes into getting me to a tournament. So I really try and do my best at each one.
Do you feel that's I didn't think about this, so I know we kind of went over the questions. I'm going to ask you one out of left field that I didn't think I was going to talk about. Well, like I said, in this conversation things come up that we don't prepare for, and That what you mentioned right there got me thinking. Do you feel like if you're not, I think you mentioned your parents sometimes, do those 3 4 hour drives to get you to your tournaments. Do you feel at any point that you disappoint your maybe your mom or your dad if you don't do well just because they're going out of the way to help you accomplish your dreams in that aspect?
Yeah, I sometimes feel that before the tournament, but not during the tournament. Like they're just all about supporting me and what I do. And yeah.
How do you handle um failure? When you come out of tournament, maybe you got skunked or maybe you didn't do as well as you were expecting to. What's your mindset after having a disappointing tournament, and how do you bounce back?
Like I try not to let it get to me, and it doesn't. Like I normally know I could have done better. If it was something out of my control, then I don't see the point in getting angry or frustrated at anything like that, or just letting it ruin like the awards or anything like that. And so I don't know. I always try and have like just if it's something that was in my control, like I did something wrong, then sometimes I'll beat myself up about it. But that's just because I knew I could do better is the main thing.
What about when you're actually on the water? Let's say you're 4 hours into your 8 hour tournament and you haven't caught a fish or you haven't gotten a limit and you feel like you're not getting the bites that the plan A, B, and C are not working. How do you avoid that from you know getting you frustrated and maybe wanting to quit, or just giving up on the tournament? How do you handle those emotions?
Well, when in my first tournament, I I was paddling. I was just in a pelican. I had one bait caster. My spinning rod broke, and so it was 6 hours with no bites besides a turtle. And then I found one tree and caught 6 fish over 3 pounds, 2.5 pounds, and that was the best bite I'd ever been on. So that really showed me how quick a day can turn around, and that was a good first lesson to learn. Yeah.
What do you think it's been the biggest eye-opening lesson that you've learned when it comes to, not in life but just in fishing? What do you think it's been that light bulb moment that you realize, oh, this is how it works? Have you ever had that epiphany moment on the water that you feel like, all right, from now on, this is what I'm going to do in this type of scenario?
I have had that like occasionally, but never like not just one big one that really went. Yeah, like setting. Okay, so in the native tournament, that was last month. The main thing that I think really contributed is I set some I wanted to make a top 10. I had 3 goals. I wanted to make a top 10, and I had never really set that goal fully. Like in my mind, I feel like I know I can do it. And 150 inches, and then a fish every 30 minutes. That was my most important goal. I'd like from I'd heard that from some of the best pro anglers, and so I set that as my goal in my mind, and that really helped me throughout the day as knowing if I got to like just look at the clock on my fish finder really took pressure off and put pressure back on in the right ways.
That's interesting. What do you feel has been the biggest factor in you having success on the water?
I think not being afraid to make adjustments in the way some people are, and that might come just from lack of like I don't know. I like lack of it but I just feel like I can always make the adjustment that needs to be made. And I don't always, but I just feel like that's something that I'm good at doing.
What are your friends in at your age, maybe your neighbors or cousins, your friends that are kind of like in your age range, think about you and what you're doing in diving in so deep into going into kayak fishing, not just going like every now and then to a pond with the night crawler, but actually diving in deep into catching bass and being good at it.
Yeah, I have one friend who has been following me, one who I have helped get into bass fishing, and I have a couple others who just aren't into fishing. They sometimes think I'm crazy for how much money I spend on it, but everyone, yeah, everyone's pretty supportive. And I have a couple friends who really have gone into fishing with me, and yeah, they're not quite as into the tournaments yet as much as the 4-H one, besides the 4-H ones, but they both love fishing and have really, yeah.
One thing that we were talking about in the pre-recording that I've learned from what you said is you mentioned the 4-H and how that got you into kayak fishing tournament. Can you briefly describe what is, for those that don't know, what is the 4-H and how does that help um, young kids like yourself get into kayak fishing?
4-H is it's a government organization from the state extension offices, and I guess it started as just like to keep like healthy, like to teach kids good value, like all that, and like it's like horse showing, all that stuff is kind of what they started as, but they've really branched out into fishing clubs, like really just shooting sports, all that. And so they're really just like a to help kids get outdoors or to learn good life skills organization. Yeah, I would almost describe them like Boy Scout, or it's not like that, but it's also
Similar
a jar.
concept.
Yeah, similar concept.
That's cool, man. I think that's so important with kids nowadays. Do you feel like I know that, well, they're not as young now, but 10, 15 years ago, when you think about the Guggen squads and John B and all that, regardless of what people may think about, social media and influencers and all that, they did, or they have made a huge impact in getting young people to be interested in what's for centuries now considered an old man sport. Do
Yeah.
you feel like, not even now, the Guggen squad's even a generation further older than you, but do you feel like that's played a huge part, social media, into growing the sport and getting kids interested in, like, oh, this is cool?
Yeah, I think, well, you look at those people, a lot of them have kind of slowed down, but the next generation of the like challenge con, content creators and like all that, and you look and you're like, oh man, this looks so like cringy, I guess. But then you're like, man, this video has 1.2 million views. Nobody can compete with that. And that's a younger audience. So that's really, I think it's like a gateway into the wider fishing community. And I think they do a lot of good for the sport because they do the most beside for bringing people in, I feel like, in my opinion.
That's a very mature answer. I like when you said it's cringy, because I sometimes feel that way, and I feel like maybe I'm disconnected from the newer generation, but I do watch some of the younger kids do some videos. I'm like, I cannot relate it. I feel cringy as well watching it, but I kind of understand it's a different generation. So
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like a breath of fresh air to hear such a young man like yourself speak in a way that so mature, at least in his perspective of life and kayak fishing. What do you attribute your maturity? I think one of the what I've gathered so far, what I'm impressed is your emotional maturity it's easier for a 13 or 15-year-old to kind of struggle emotionally with, with disappointment, with failure, and with social media being what it is right now, which is, in a way, it's a good, but there's a lot of negative stuff right now that affects younger kids. What do you attribute your emotional maturity to?
Um, like a good bit of it would probably I kind of homeschooling maybe. I feel like that contributes to it, and just kind of having a wider perspective, like just looking at it as a whole and seeing, man, that's kind of ridiculous. Like, why would I get mad at the boat ramp and just ruin my day of fishing for no reason when like that? Just looking at it with a wider perspective.
That is interesting. I know this is really, we're kind of steering, getting away from the fishing aspect of things, but I have a few friends around my age that have kids and they're homeschool, and their level of maturity is a lot higher than a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of friends because my friends watch this. I don't want them to be offended, but a lot more mature than kids that actually go to school. And obviously, a lot has to do with the parenting. It seems like, judging just by your presentation, I can tell you have a great set of parents that love you, care for you, and look out for your best interest. And I think, and it's kind of sad in a way, and I don't want this to become a social commentary, but it's kind of sad in a way with the state of uh public education where it is, where you can see the difference. I see the difference in kids that are homeschooled with great sets of parents versus kids that have to go to school for whatever reason or another. um and it's just not the same level. It takes a little bit away from the toxic behavior that sometimes takes place in school. um were you happy with the decision of being actually homeschooled? What, if I may ask you, what brought up that decision to just stay at school, and you happy with that?
I was very
Stay
happy.
homeschooled,
I'm
I should say.
very like homeschooled, very happy with that, and because I'm a very person who likes to move, who likes to be outside, who likes to really do things with intention. Like I really think that I can get my schoolwork done a lot faster than other people. Like than school. Like you can I'm motivated. I can get all my schoolwork done and then go fishing or plan all that around. I can plan schoolwork around activities, how it works better for me. So that I think that's probably one of my best advantages that I can plan around fishing.
That's a good point. And by the way, for those that are watching or maybe listening to the podcast, I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing parents that take their kids to school and all that. You know, parenting is different. Some parents can't afford to have their kids homeschools. Some parents, because the dynamics, need the kid to go to school, and that's not saying that bad parents are not saying that every kid that goes to school cannot be or is not mature. I just want to kind of like make a comment of what I'm seeing from you, as
I forgot.
uh, as being kind of impressed with your emotional maturity and how that correlates to your parenting and being able to be homeschooled. So just want to clarify that for those that are watching
Yeah.
and listening. But let's talk a little bit about how you balance that. So, you know, if I may ask, when it comes to doing what you want to do, is there like a expectations that your parents have, like say you need to have, be average in this grade or be up to date in your homework and all that before you can go fishing? Is that kind of like a negotiation between you and your parentings? How does that work?
Well, yeah, as long as I'm getting it done and if I get behind on schoolwork, like they're like I have to get it back, get caught back up before I can go fishing. But like, but if I have to, like, if I have a big tournament coming up, I can kind of, I can not worry about, I can pre-fish and not worry about school for a week and then get caught back up. Or I can, if I have to work a good bit and then I have a tournament, I can just get caught back up in a way that someone who really has homework and school most of the day can't.
That's a good point. Um, does I think one of the talking to I don't have kids, but talking to parents that have kids and are homeschooled, I asked them one of the challenges of having the kids at home and what are the drawbacks. And one of the things that I've heard a lot is, you're taking away some of their social skills by not having them in school and being able to distinguish, right from wrong in that aspect as far as watching how the kids behave, how to handle bullies, how to handle certain situations. That kind of get lost when you're obviously protected at home in that aspect. That's not a criticism on
Yeah.
homeschooling. That's just kind of like that dynamics, one of the drawbacks. Do you feel like the tournaments, being on the water, at the captain's meetings or being at the award ceremony kind of gives you a substitute for how to like grow as far as interacting with other people?
Well, I'm not, like, I do a lot. I'm not, like, there are some homeschool families that can apply to, but I have always done so many activities around people. And even if, like, I'm I see some people my age who struggle a lot more to talk to adults, and I haven't had that nearly as much. And like, I I would say I'm more social and outgoing because of school, like being homeschooled. And like, I try and, like, at the boat ramp, at the awards, I try and talk to basically everybody. Like, that's one of my goals, just to, even if it's a short conversation with a group of guys, just like three, like, and then just walk onto the nets and just kind of, like, yeah.
What is the general reaction you get when people like older tournament anglers see you and at the boat ramp or in the award ceremony or the captain's meeting? What do you feel? What do you perceive is the general reaction to them watching a 15-year-old kid? Well, you started when you were 13. So
Yeah.
what do you feel is the perception? What's your perception, I should say, of how they see you?
I really, most of them are surprised, and like, sometimes the first time when I beat somebody, they're like, surprise, good job. But sometimes if I beat them a couple of times, they ask me some questions about fishing, and so I think I like that. And normally the reaction is very positive or just kind of slightly shocked sometimes, but most people won't. Younger people in the sport, like, yeah,
I would think, going by my own criteria, I'm a 51 years old now in June. I'm 51 years old. I'm going to tournaments. I'm spending, if it's out of state or out of town, probably near $1,000 between Airbnb, gas, food, tournament fees, and all that. And I think, man, do I want to really be showed up by a kid that's 15 years old? Like, I feel like, man, I'd be happy for him. My first experience on that was fishing the Hobie BOS at Lake Dardanelle against Jackson Rambonis,
yeah,
son of Boom Boom. And I have the utmost respect for them, but we were going like, I think we were tied on day one, and I had the honor of hanging out with him and his family after day one at their house. And it was that feeling of like, man, I could get beat, and I did. We all got beat by him. He won that tournament. And it's like this kid first time in a kayak. What do you feel is the perception now when you are like in the native big bass powwow where you're catching a check, and most of the adults like either are under you or didn't catch a check or didn't get skunk or got skunk.
Yeah, most of them are like most of them will like surprise, and most of them have a very positive reaction. And like throughout that native tournament, I was kind of watching, like I would check the leaderboard, like just to make sure I was keeping up, because that was my main goal. And I'd be like, man, I'm about to pass Russ Snyder's, man. Oh, there's Flute Master. He's been posting on YouTube for longer than I've been alive.
Yeah,
And that's just kind of crazy to me. And the fact that they walk up after and congratulate me, that's pretty cool.
that's awesome, man. I know I could see how it hurts someone's the adult's ego, but
Yeah.
actually, at the end of the day, that prevailing feeling is we're happy when we see a young kid, do what we've loved doing since we were your age. So happy for you that you've been able to, accomplish that. And what with social media, are you active on social media when it comes to fishing?
Yeah, this year I'm really trying to lay a good groundwork and throughout social media. So I'm not as active as I should be on YouTube, and I'm pretty active on Instagram, at least a post or two a week.
How
Yeah.
do you handle? Do you get a lot of social media being what it is? It could be the devil sometimes. Do you have to deal with a lot of negativity on social media, and how do you handle any negative comments or vibes that come your way through social media?
I don't think I've experienced almost any. The community is really good in fishing, and like Instagram is very good about it. You can click block from account, and it just like if there's anyone who would do something like that, just block them. Like there doesn't need to be an interaction there, and I haven't experienced a ton of that myself.
What do you what's your advice to anyone around your age that's getting into either tournament or doing content for social media as far as kayak fishing goes or fishing in general?
Well, that you like someone my age can do it, and it's the most of the people fishing these tournaments throw their information out on YouTube, like most of the top people. So if you just pay attention, and sometimes they won't say what they're doing, but you'll see, and just the little things, if you just pay attention, if you collect from three of the best people and implement one thing from each person, it really just helps and can put you up there with those people.
It's good advice. Um, Let me see. We're flying in through questions. I'm running out of questions to ask you, but what has been your favorite bait? Do you think you found more success, or you just love throwing out there?
Uh, Probably the one that I've had the most success with is the wacky rig, and that one's just it's one of the earlier baits that I learned to fish, and I've really perfected it from my rod, line, bait choice, and took it a lot farther than most people go with a wacky rig. And then I also really like the Berkeley Dime 10 deep diver. It's I really like it.
What is it that you like about it? Do you do like a lot of deep diving with your kayaks?
Uh, I I haven't gone more than like 15 foot very much, and I really like the Berkeley Dime 10 because it doesn't pull back as hard. It
Hmm.
dives a lot easier. Some you'll just be like fighting to reel, and I really haven't found that with that bait. So like speed reeling it, I've caught quite a couple over like 4 or 5 pounds, and that's one of the reasons I really like it. Like just
What
burn, pause. Like, yeah.
what is how would how would you describe yourself as an angler? If you somebody say, "Hey, power fisherman," or run and gun, or break down a spot until you catch them, what would you how would you describe your style of fishing?
Probably I move around a lot. And so I'll just pick one of the lakes that I know the best in my mind, and I will kind of move around until I find something that I like. Like there's if I can find some spots or area to move around in that's not super big, I really like just kind of running and gunning, switching around, and but until I find something that I can just sit and focus in on, and yeah.
Cool. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we have on this. What is your least favorite way to fish? Like if you were, I'm struggling, I don't want to throw this bait, but I feel like I may catch bait. What's the last bait? Like the last thing you want to be throwing at a tournament?
Probably a Texas rig. I don't.
Really?
Yeah. Like the bottom contact, like a Texas rig, and like I like certain types of jigs, but not all. So it's probably a Texas rig for me. It's not. Yeah, it's probably one of the most popular baits, but it's. I've never really had crazy luck with it, and I always feel like I can just. It's rare you'll find me having Texas rig tied on. Like, yeah, that's probably the bait that I don't like throwing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is your ideal scenario where you're fishing? Describe your ideal scenario. You're either fishing a highland reservoir, a rocky ledge, a grass. What's the weather like? What's the wind like? What's the, what do you feel it's like heaven for you if you're fishing?
I feel like my favorite time to fish is probably when it's windy, and I like speed cranking. Like that's probably one of my ideal scenarios. But for tournament performance wise, I like hot, slick, calm, and the bite's not on for most people. I feel like that's when like wacky rig and some of the techniques I'm better at can excel, like just by cast placement. Even if the fish aren't gonna eat, if you land it on top of their head, they'll swirl around and pick pick it up. I think that's where I succeed the most.
Cool. So you're comfortable doing power fishing or finesse style fishing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's where I think most anglers that are the top of the game are. They're good at both, not just one trick ponies, which is what you
yeah.
wanted, what you've seemed to be accomplished at such a young age. Do you prefer grass lakes, rocky lakes? Do you prefer tree stumps? What geographically? How do you like your lakes?
I like shallow-ish brush piles, and then grass just because I have a good amount of experience with it. I Yeah, grass, but probably ideal lake is like shallow brush piles, and like a lot of I like deep banks, like right where where it's like 5 foot right next to the bank. That's probably my ideal. Yeah.
How do you prepare yourself for a tournament? Let's say you're going to a lake you've never been. When does your preparation for that tournament start? Does it start like weeks, months ahead? And what's the preparation as far as before you even get on the water and when you get pre-fishing? Take me through your preparation for that.
Well, I'll start off by just looking at it on Google Maps. That's probably what I do the most. Just mark like, let's say 5 spots before I get to a lake. Then I will normally Google it, see if there's any fishing reports or videos, and then normally just I go by the type of lake. It like if it's a grass lake, I'll look up, like I'll try and find out what are the techniques that would be playing this time of year on this type of grass lake, or like, and if it's a lake that I know, I will try and figure out what I think they would be doing. And like with Gunnersville, I had the spot that I actually got fourth on and could have won on in my head for at least a month in advance. Like I was like talking to my mom and my dad about it. Like, I think this is a spot they're going to be on. And I found them there good enough to know that there were fish there in practice. And like some of how I went about that is the Friday after practice, I actually wasn't sure if I actually found the winning fish or like the fish that I could do well on, just because I would catch a fish and then either leave that area or I would switch baits. And so I wasn't sure how many of them were catchable fish. But also, when I'm at a lake that I know that I'll be fishing tournaments on a lot, I'll basically mark every area I've ever caught a fish. And that helps me on Gunnersville, which is such a big lake to break down. I'll just see, okay, I have 30 pins on this lake, and I'll check out 5 of the areas in practice and see how they're going. Even if it's just driving by them and seeing if they have sprayed or not. And yeah.
When you do your research on Google Maps, what is it that you want to look for? Does it just like based on the lake, you just like, well, I'll look for if the lake is this type of rocky or if it's grassy. But overall, what's your ideal spot? Is it like, I'm looking for this first of all. If I find this, I'm gonna start here.
Like, I normally, if I can get a depth map, I look for any areas where the lines are just close together, like where there's a lot of contours against the bank normally, but even out, as long as I'm not very comfortable in like 15 plus, just I haven't fished a ton in that deep of water, but like anything where contours are close or where watercolor changes close to the bank, like, or I can like see, like if there's a grass mat on Google Maps, you'll see where water, like if there's a creek anywhere flowing in, you'll see where it like cuts through the mat.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that I look for a lot. Yeah.
That's good advice. You talked a little bit about marking your graphs. What type of graphs you use? Are you using forward-facing sonar and or what is your electronics that you use?
Well, right now I have a Garmin EcoMap 7, and it just side scan and down, and that's what I use right now. I was about to buy forward facing right after that native tournament, but I ended up buying Russ Snyder's kayak that he won, so I decided to hold off on the live scope for a little while until I can get my funds back up, but I should have it by the end of the year.
So you are interested in life. So what are your thoughts? I know that's obviously, when you think about, I forgot the name of the young gentleman. It's kind of embarrassing that I forgot the name because young kid that won the Bassmaster Elite, I know on social media, had a field day with him using forward-facing sonar. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on forward-facing sonar from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, it's something there to be to use, so why not use it? Like, I feel like it can help you understand fish behavior so much. Like, I've gone in a couple people's boats and used it, and I enjoy it a lot. It's one of the most fun types of fishing that It's one of the most fun types of fishing, in my opinion, and that's why I'm really excited to get it. And I know it's something that I would be good at just from my experience with it so far, and so I'm really excited about it. But I don't, if it's banned, it's banned, but it's still a great tool to be used. So that's my opinion on it.
It's cool, man. Alex Perez, thank you so much for coming in clutch. Easton Forthgill, I forgot. I knew it wasn't an easy name to remember, but yes, he won.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I hate to see people trash on somebody else for using for facing sonar. I've made my feelings known about it. I don't think it belongs in tournament fishing, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
discredit somebody that won a tournament, especially
Yeah.
the classics with it. I mean, we can all fish in the same by the same rules, so nothing should be taken away
Yeah.
from anybody in that aspect
Mm-hmm.
for one way or the other.
Like,
But cool. I like.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I think it takes so much like time to learn it
Yeah.
that we shouldn't discredit anyone who that's how they have spent 300 days on the water learning, and then it's magical, they can catch all the fish. But I do see people's opinions why it shouldn't be, but yeah.
It's an interesting point what you mentioned because I remember when I started kayak fishing, I had an Ascend 12T, and the first 5 times I wasn't able to get a fish. And then I started, I want to say I got great at it, but I got good at developing instincts, getting fish. And then my first fish finder was like, a year after I got the kayak. What was it? It was a Ray Marine. Usually that's a saltwater fish finder, not a freshwater. But I remember kind of like it affected my success because now I'm looking at a monitor and kind of getting away from my instinct that I've developed from watching nature and observing and paying attention to how I catch them to now looking in this fancy computer that's telling me where they are. When it
Yeah.
comes to
Yeah.
forward facing sonar, it's even well, now with social media it's a little bit easier, but I can see how it's even more complicated because the technology is better, but at the same time more complicated to learn. How would
Yeah.
you handle that? And I know that I'm asking you a question that you haven't faced before, but it's also interesting to think about it when you go out and start using that forward facing sonar. That may be that now you feel like you're taking a step back in accomplishments because now you're distracted with this, and it takes time to implement what you know with the technology. It's not seamless. People that think that you can just get a forward facing sonar and start catching fish are not realistic about it. And pretty much everyone that I've talked to says, hey, you take 1 or 2 step backs the first few months of using it, depending how much you're using it, until you finally see the results. How do you feel you can manage that and not get frustrated by that?
I think it would take a little while for me to get used to it and knowing when to change from it to bank fishing to all the like knowing when to swap out. So I think I'd probably start with maybe not using it in tournaments, may just start with practice and just when I'm out normal fishing. And that's probably how I would use it. I just fish behavior and like days where you don't know what they're doing. I feel like that's where I would really like it.
What how much do you think time on the water has helped you get to where you are now?
I think it has really helped me.
Do you say that's
Like,
the biggest factor?
I would say probably absorbing knowledge has been the biggest factor for me, but I think time on the water and just intentional time on the water, like intentionally going out, like being serious about it on the water, I think that's really helped.
When you're not fishing, what is Charlie Sanders doing other than
Um,
studying in school or homeschool?
yeah, besides school, I've been mowing yards for the last 2 years, so that's kind of how I fund fishing. I've started doing a lot more this year, uh, and that's how I afford it. And then I hang out with friends and do that, but a lot of it's honestly fishing. Yeah.
I like what you mentioned. I like that. I think it speaks um, to your parents' parenting skills, which is like I could see like if your parents and it be understanding if you're 13 years old that your parents are maybe bankrolling you and are paying you for your fees and all that that could be something. Well, you got nothing to lose. Whereas if you're actually having to go mow yards on a hot summer day to earn your money to go fish in tournaments, that's going to give you more appreciation for what you're doing. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. And like my my grandmother has helped me with kayak perch. That's how I got my old town, and because she saw that I needed a step up, and she decided that she would like to buy me a kayak, and I'm so thankful to her because that pushed it accelerated my success a lot by having a good tournament platform. I think that really pushed me forward into being able to compete a lot sooner rather than having to work extra for at least a year to get a kayak.
Listen to I again, I don't know what I'm more impressed with. I mean, I'm impressed with your level of maturity. I shouldn't be impressed because actually this is what every parent should be doing. And again, I'm not a parent, so I don't criticize, but I think it's an admirable job what your parents are doing, and we see kind of like the proof is in the pudding. You've become this very mature, um, way above his years, young man, and it seems like talking to you, it's been a lot of like good mentoring and also giving you the liberty to struggle and figure it out and earn your keep in that aspect. So
Yeah,
congratulations for the success you've had.
yeah, I definitely appreciate my parents, like how their style and all that. I'm very appreciative because that's what allows me to do this, and all my dad, like all his help with have working a lot and also making sure to take me to tournaments, even if it's yeah.
Yeah, like Alex Perez says, he's very humble, raised right. It's obvious. Kudos to mom and dad. Definitely kudos. Let me ask you a question, just to throw your mom. Has this made you popular with the ladies here? At school and all. Well, you're homeschool.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
kidding. I know your
yeah,
mom's right there in the background. I'm just scaring her.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
I
I
really,
fish so much that
yeah.
that it can get in the way.
I'm making
Uh,
you
but
blush. I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding.
but
But if
yeah.
you're not having fun fishing, what are you having fun doing?
Well, like just kind of feel like still being a kid. Like I'm very serious about fishing, but I'm still doing all the normal things, honestly, with with friends and four wheelers and stuff.
Mandy says he takes the ladies
Uh,
on his kayak. We're getting in trouble with your mom. You're very popular with the ladies. Oh my god, we went to a rabbit hole. It's
uh,
gonna get both into trouble. Nah, just kidding. But man, Charlie, I know I've never said this to any of my guests, but I think it's close to your bedtime, buddy. We've got to talk for an hour. I know. I think you're in Eastern
yeah,
time, so I don't want to keep you too long. So I wanted to
yeah,
give you a chance to plug. Where can people follow you on social media? And if you have social, I think you mentioned you have social
yeah,
media. And yeah, if you have any sponsors that help you or people that actually help you. I know you mentioned a couple of people before, but anyways, take your time.
yeah. Like I do Instagram and YouTube are both at Charlie Sanders Fishing, and that's with the kayak fishing. You sometimes you can't make a full living off of it. Like there are people who do, but it's so I'm really trying to work on the social media aspect before I can fish Bassmaster next year when I'm old enough. And Newport, I'm a brand ambassador with them, and Tactical Fishing Company. I just got on board with them after the native tournament. And yeah, my grandmother and my parents and Thad Moody, he helps out a lot. And all my grandparents, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great community, man. Kayak fishing
Yeah.
for the most part. So outside of social media, I think it's such a wonderful community. I think it's what really has helped uh, grow the sport more than anything. I think Brian Latimer said that once. It's not the social media content creators that get you into fishing. It's your friend, your uncle, your dad, and your cousin that kind of like that connection, that
Yeah.
community. That's I think what actually grows, especially tournament fishing. So, man, Charlie, thank you so much. Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot to ask you, what do you at this young age? I know life is gonna come at you hard at some point, and you're gonna make decisions on your life. But what do you feel? What would you at this point in your life would like to take this? Like, growing older, what do you visualize kayak fishing, tournament fishing, social media fishing? How do you feel it? How do you hope it fits into what you want to do with your life?
Well, I'm not 100% sure how it goes, but I know with this native tournament, it really, because I have them on camera, two fish like, that jumped off that they didn't bother me at the time at all, but because if I would have hit my 30-minute goal in the last bit, I would have gone second. And if one of those fish went, so it really ignited a fire that I really want to win a national tournament. Like, I can't explain how badly I want to win now. And like, I beat Russ Snyder's and a couple people that I really look up to. So I really want to take that further. And I like this last year, I really wanted to fish Bassmaster, but so in the next year, that's where I know like I have plans, and my plans are to fish Bassmaster and as many national and other tournaments as I can, and Mississippi stuff and all that. So that's my plan for next year. I can drive, I can fish all the tournaments, and yeah, and then see where it takes me, see if I can build my social media and all that, and like see basically however much money I can get is however many tournaments I can fish next year. So that's the plan. And then I would love to make a career out of this. Like, of course you have to have backup options, but this is
Mhm.
really what I want to do, and I have some time to do it. So
It seems you have all the tools. You have a amazing supporting cast, starting with your parents. So I look forward to seeing you, man, seeing able to accomplish that. I know at some point you're gonna make life decisions, and that may include fishing more or fishing less. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy it, man. I hope you find success, and if it's your dream or your goal to make this a lifelong journey, then I hope it works out. And again, congratulations to amazing job that everybody, not just your parents, you mentioned grandparents and everybody that's helped you out. Um, Kudos to you. You really become, from what I well, not becomes habit. I haven't known you from before, but it seems like you are very mature for your age, especially emotional maturity, which I think it's key at your age. Um, Heck, better than most adults, for better or worse. So it's again, happy for you, man, and hope to get you on the podcast sometime. Showing off a big check or a big trophy and all that.
yeah, I really appreciate you having me on the podcast, and I've had a great time chatting with you. And I look forward to hopefully more in the future.
All right, thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you to your parents for allowing you to take the time to come up to the podcast. And again, wish you the most success. For those out there watching, listening, remember, check out our sponsors, Douglas Rod, Norsk Lithium, Mariner Sales if you live in DFW Metroplex. Also, if you don't, you can shop online. They have the biggest inventory of kayak and kayak accessories. And next week, we'll try to do a ICAST special. We'll try to get some of the social media content creators that went to ICAST, get them their thoughts on some of the stuff that came out in ICAST. Kind of sad that I wasn't able to get ICAST. Seemed like there was a lot of either kayak related things that were debuted in ICAST. So that's good. Just glad to see that coming out. And again, if you're going to be on the water, folks, please wear your PFDs. Have a great night, everyone.
Yep.